What's up everyone, welcome back, and today I'm gonna be doing something a bit different. I am gonna review a plugin, but it's a different type of plugin. It's an instrument plugin, and in this case it's the type of instrument that tries to replicate real life instruments, and this one actually does so quite well, and it's the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover by Spitfire Audio. And it's important to note that this is the lightest version of the plugin. You can get the core one, which is quite extensive, and the pro one, and that one will have a lot more features than this one. And one of the main issues that you will have with this is that repeated notes will sound pretty weird just because it's exactly the same sample, whereas on the bigger ones you have 8 different variations of the same thing. So if you play 2 C's one after the other, they'll sound a bit different the same way. It's gonna happen if you play it on a real instrument. But at the same time, this one is or was free if you waited for a couple of weeks when the announcement was made, or it's about $50, I think, if you buy it. And I think it's well worth at least the wait, if not the purchase, even for the Discover version, which is the one I'm doing now. And what I wanted to do is take one of the most well-known pieces for an orchestra and see what it sounds like. And the piece I have here today is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the first movement, and I have the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover on all of the tracks. It has flutes, oboes, clarinets, bassoons, French horns, trombones. Then it has some percussions, some timpanis, violins 1 and 2, violas, cello, and double bass. And you can see here that each of these has kind of a different type of phrasing and technique. You have some here for the violins. If I go to timpani, you'll have some different ones. If I go to clarinet, again, you'll have some different ones. And all of these different colors match their instruments. So you have violins, strings here. You have horns, and then the rest of the brass. Blue is for woodwinds, and then yellow is for percussion. It's quite interesting, and they're panned according to this, which is quite cool. And again, just to get the sense of what the orchestra is. But let's see what it actually sounds like. I'm just gonna play a bit of it and then stop just to highlight something, but it's gonna be less talking and more listening. Oops, it would help if I start from the beginning. So, first of all, the clicks and pops are not from this, they're from OBS trying to record everything. And you can hear that limitation of having the same note played exactly the same. It does sound a bit robotic. But moving on from that, it starts getting a whole lot better. I really like that horn fill. Let's have a listen to it. Let's have a listen to that timpani fill. And you can really feel the need for some variation on that. And it does have variation in terms of MIDI information, in terms of the velocity and the placement, in terms of timing, but since it's the same sample, there's only that much you can do. That actually sounds really good. Let's have a listen to that in isolation again. And again, whenever you have a repeated note, it starts sounding artificial. Up until that point, that sounded pretty much like a cello. And especially those sighs at the end sounded extremely realistic. Let's have a listen to that brass section again. For some reason, the timpani is still here, even though the MIDI is off. Interesting quirk. And you can change the articulation of those violins because this sounds a bit off when it's just long notes. You don't have legato in this one, which is also a bit of a limitation. Let's see if we change it to spiccato, if it changes the vibe. And obviously you can automate all that, but it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. Imagine having to do it for all of this. But if you do it, it did sound much more natural and much closer to the kind of an orchestral performance, an actual performance of this piece. So. Again, this horn sounds fantastic. So that's your problem. I accidentally switched this to percussion instead of the trombones. And again, you can hear that limitation in the double notes. Da-da-da-dum. That does not sound natural, but the transition from that section to the other does. It doesn't have the impact that a real orchestra has, but it still sounds really good for literally just putting the MIDI information in, putting the plugin on, and not tweaking anything, not really automating anything. The only automation, quote unquote, is just in the MIDI information itself that the file came with, and it's literally just velocity. But here in this build-up, it does sound really close to an actual orchestra. I love that horn. Nice deal. So this is the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover. It's the cheapest version. It was free if it isn't anymore. So for what it is, I think it's perfectly serviceable. And you can get some amazing sounds out of this. Imagine having this power, having something that sounds this good, kind of buried in the background. Kind of have it part of your mix, have it so that it fills the necessary spaces there. So I would definitely use the strings for some kind of string pad type of thing. Some of the wind instruments and the brass instruments sound really good. I love the horn sound on this. The timpani maybe less so, and this also comes with the harp and celeste. Obviously it's not part of Beethoven's orchestra here, but it does come equipped with any of the instruments you would normally find in in a normal orchestra. So I highly recommend you give this a whirl. It's a fantastic plugin. I mean, the guys at Spitfire Audio are just amazing. And the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin is something that a lot of people will use to to make music in the coming future. So let me know if you download this or if you already have it. And until next time, have fun with the BBC Symphony Orchestra Discover.